Hello, welcome to today's edition of History of Ghana and anything about history and the impact that we want to make regarding how we want students to actually be abreast with their stay on campus and their academic life. Today, I'm happy to be the one to also lead in the discussion on how students can actually read any material within the humanities, particularly regarding history or political science or any other book at all, which is not really written to have diagrams, to have pictures, but it's all about written letters that are in the book. So my name still remains Mr. Indom Isaac, a history lecturer at the Department of History Education, University of Education, Winneba. Now, when it comes to reading, most students find it difficult to grasp what they have really been reading, particularly from senior high school levels to that of the tertiary levels. We know that in basic school, we were really taught how to read and also answer comprehension questions and all that. But when it comes to reading at the tertiary level, to read a whole article, a whole book, a whole theme of, let's say, an article or a book, for you to really come out with an understanding and also a knowledge that you are really obtaining from it, more often than not, students find it very difficult to understand. Regardless of even using a dictionary to search for the meaning of words and others, but the word alone may not constitute an understanding of a word, because a word may be used in a sentence and its meaning and the context within which it is being placed may change the whole understanding of that particular word as to what it really means in a dictionary. In other words, the meaning of a word in a dictionary, as you find out in the course of reading a book, may not necessarily mean or fit into the context within which an author had written it or used it in that particular sentence or phrase. And so, if you really want to read and understand a book for an academic purpose, an article or anything, first, just check out the author's name, the author's background, the field of study of the author, and the author's worldview. If you really take time to know all these basics about an author of an article or a book that you are reading, it will give you an idea about what the author seeks to do or his worldview, which might shape his understanding of whatever that he is writing on. And so if you take someone who is a pagan writing something on a religion, or if you take an European anthropologist or the earliest European anthropologists who were writing about things they saw about African culture, you may get a different perspective, because the period within which they wrote this and the ideas that they had about Africans will really goes into the content and the choice of words that they use. And so it is no news for someone called Trevor Roper to say that Africans have no history, and all that they know about Africa is about European presence in Africa. And so that sort of notion was actually Eurocentric. And so you should know the background of the author and his book or his article or material or literature that you are reading. And so, having checked all that, you should also read the introduction to that particular book or that particular article. But the introduction will spell out the specific objective that the author seeks to actually address or talk about. He may be talking about diverse things, but he may want you to know that his argument is being narrowed to a specific path. And that particular path is what you should actually look for, and not precisely the entire generality of the topic or the theme or the title of the book that you are expecting to know. Because sometimes the title can be deceptive. And so the titling alone may not give you the whole thing you should be imagining to find in the content of the book or the article or that literature. And so you should read to get to the point of knowing the objectives of that particular article or literature by looking at the introductory aspect. But more often, students want to read specific pages, specific chapters that they have been assigned to go and read regardless of the other aspects of the part of the book, talking about the introduction. And so, having looked at all this, that's the author, the introduction to know that of the objective of the author and the argument that the author wants to make. If you are reading the particular chapters, if you have been assigned to particular chapters, every book and each chapter is being written in themes. a particular chapter may be written in themes. And so if you are reading that one, you should read the whole introduction of that particular chapter, know the arguments that that chapter seeks to do, the questions it seeks to address, and also look at the themes, the various themes that they are developing to complete the particular chapter. And so if you read these themes, you should also pay attention to the introductory sentences that begins every particular paragraph. And so look at the themes of the various articles, look at the various thesis statements that are being given in the various chapters, and that will also go a long way to inform you as to what they are talking about. Then you should also pay attention to that of the various arguments that they use. Sometimes in formulating argument, in fact, every paragraph of any article or any literature has an argument. That is why the paragraph seeks to give a body of knowledge or an understanding, or a particular argument can all be compressed into a single paragraph. So the subsequent paragraph either adds up to the previous one or begins a new other set of arguments. That is why when premises or various sentences or topic sentences are given, there is a conclusion before a new paragraph comes. And sometimes these conclusions may come in conclusion indicators like also, therefore, hence, or to add up to, in some. So sometimes a paragraph, after the person has said all that he wants to say within that paragraph, he uses these statements as a way of concluding all that he sought to really talk about. So also, therefore, in conclusion, are all conclusion indicators for a particular paragraph. Then you go to the next paragraph. If the author is actually adding a new argument or a new point to support a previous one, uses the expression like in addition to, in some. But these are basic that not all authors would like to add up. But if you are reading and you are careful in reading, you will come to notice that the author is either adding up or contradicting a previous point he has raised with another one by saying that on the contrary, meaning what he has said earlier, the opposite of what he has said earlier is what he's about to say. And so it will tell you that it's not necessarily adding up to a previous point being raised, but rather contradicting or telling the opposite or the reverse of a point that has already been raised. And that is one aspect that students should also pay attention to in actually just reading a book. But having read all of these, you should be able to paraphrase all that you have read into your own understanding. But more often, students want to read other than writing. You should be reading and writing at the same time. These two are done in academia. You can't just read and have everything in your mind. And so as you are reading, so far as you have understood a concept or the pattern of the author's argument, rephrase it into your jotter or a notebook that you are using. And so the only advice I can give at this point is that students should have a single book for each course. So that if you are reading this course, what lecture notes you take at lectures, it's rather at the front page. Then from behind or the back of the book, you start writing your personal notes that you have really gotten as a result of reading books or external materials, which may be given out of lectures or you getting it out of lectures. And so rephrase all that you have had, the ideas that you have gotten from a paragraph, the whole article, the whole chapter, or the whole book that you are supposed to read, reframe it into. But as you are reframing them, you can also get themes out of it. Sometimes authors may be giving out points or ideas, and the ideas is mixed up. The author will not necessarily have a theme on that of political benefit, economic benefit, social benefit, technological impact. But you as the student should be able to reframe them into various themes, as in the importance being in the circle of political, the importance being in the circle of social. You should identify them, because some authors will not necessarily point out or create themes and say that political benefits of this, economic benefits of that. But you have to read and reorganize all of these points, all of these ideas, all of these notions that the author is giving into its social, into its political, into its economic, into its technological impacts, or any other theme that you can get by regrouping. So that is it for how we can really read a book and understand. And so to sum today's discussion or today's education, we should be able to be one that we read not only because we want to just read, but we should have a book beside us that when we read, the ideas that we are getting, we write them. Else we can't really read everything again when we are preparing for exam or a quiz or a mid-semester. And so as you read, there, even if it is a single page you can read for the day, make sure whatever that is being communicated, it's really reframed into your own language and you write it down in your book. And also or develop the habit of really reading a whole book that you don't understand, a whole chapter you don't understand more than once. You can have a fast reading for the first time, then the subsequent time again you read it again, you'll be surprised with how you become familiar with the author's arguments and line of developing points and all that the author is trying to talk about. And so do not think of just only once reading it and getting it. It may sometimes take more than even twice reading or 3 times reading of it before you can actually get the understanding. On that note, I wish us all the best, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more educational insight, particularly regarding history. I wish you all the best for the day. Bye.